Okay. Hello, Dee. Ooh. Thank you. Oh.
Are you bringing your ball out here?
Don't do it. Dee. Come on. Get your ball. Oh, this is a very, as you can tell, well sloped deck as well. That ball just couldn't wait to roll towards the house. Oof. Okay.
Coffee, now you gotta do a weed.
Do a weed. Yep. California breakfast. Gotta twist up my Cali breakfast. Is Pop still around? Yep. Yep. Yep, he is.
Ruined his sleep schedule officially now.
And when did he sleep until?
I mean, I think he laid down, or he got up around like 8:30.
Well, it's not completely ruined then. Not completely ruined. Oh.
Diner woke me up when he started getting up and around.
Of course. I'm out like a light by that time, so even if it does wake me up, I don't remember it.
You know how I am when I get up, I kind of bolts up.
Yeah. Grandpa, you look sad. Oh. I'm not sad, I just woke up, man.
Just tired.
Yeah. I did a lot of driving this week, and I'm pretty fucking bushed. A lot of driving. Driving here, driving there, driving everywhere.
Is this one you'd want me to get again?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's really good. Actually, a little better quality than the last brand we were doing. Easier to roll up. Because there's less twigs and berries. Old age, are you lonely? Are you trying to catfish me? Listen. I'm not one of them, okay? Have me a wife. I'm not looking to be catfished at all. What was the best activity you did with him while you were here?
Probably shopping in a little beach town. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, we traveled a lot, so it's hard. I don't know. For me, I just liked sitting and talking to the old guy. I'm a simple guy. I don't need to go anywhere. Typically don't want to go anywhere. So I appreciated just getting to yak with my dad till my head was sore. was nice. But I think Dad's had enough of my bullshit out here. We'll see. He might pop out here when he realizes I'm not coming right back in. It's war going on here? What? War?
You living in India or Pakistan?
Yeah, are you in India or Pakistan? You guys need to chill the fuck out. Why can't you just, like, share Kashmir? Can I get with you for a second? Can you guys just, look, joint custody of Kashmir, right? You guys are wild, man. This shit where you're provoking each other right at the border. Got dudes with peacock feathers on their heads strutting around at each other. You gotta stop, man. You gotta stop.
The pattern holds as your week off and all this shit popped off.
Yeah. It's the way it works.
You can't help it, but it seems to happen that way.
I know you're a watch dude. What do you think of Hamilton watches? Good field watch. Super legible watches. Good, rugged too. Like in terms of, can knock them around quite a bit. Good field watch. I don't know much about Hamilton's other lines, but I know their field watch and their medic watch is really good. Their field medic watch and straight field watch. They have a pilot, I think, a pilot field watch. I get a shout out. My favorite watches are Omega. Omegas are nice. So you like the James Bond watches. You part Sasquatch? Full Sasquatch. Yeah. Full-blooded. Yes, I'm in India. The innocent citizens are getting killed, and it's all politics. I just want peace. Yeah, I mean, like, the Indian people don't give a fuck of whether Kashmir is called Pakistan or India, right? The Indian people just want to chill. Oh, man, shout out for my namesake. Okay, yeah. Oh, we're both Pauls? I see. Yeah. We're both Pauls. It's like saying north of Ireland is British. Well, I mean, they need to get over that shit too.
Mm-hmm.
Just like how many people have croaked over border skirmishes and territorial disputes.
You know, there's free travel for both countries. What does it matter?
The cultures are so similar. I can guarantee you it's one of those things where lots of people in Pakistan have family in India. Lots of people in India have family in Pakistan. It just doesn't make any sense. It's just bullshit. No, they aren't similar. Oh, okay. Yeah, they're exactly, dude, they're exactly alike. I've seen those like border things they do. I got one dude, the Indian guy is usually dressed in tan, and he's got a peacock feather in his turban. And then the Pakistani guy is usually dressed in black with a red sash and he's got a peacock feather in his turban. I mean, you don't have a ceremony like that at the border without intensely deep roots going way, way back between those two peoples. I've seen it, dude. You can't fucking lie to me, bro. You may think that people from Pakistan are very different due to the kind of propaganda that you've been raised in. But with a little bit of an overview from outside of the cooking pot, you guys are exactly the same. Are you smooth brains in here really advocating for a one world government? Absolutely, yeah. I would celebrate a one world government like a lot of you celebrate electing a fucking scumbag corporatist. You know what I mean? I would do a backflip over that shit. Because I think that billions of human beings over the course of modern human history have croaked over simple disagreements on where a line on a map should be. It doesn't make any sense anymore. You look at how these countries and these cultures live cheek by jowl. It's like here in America, Mexico, right? Mexico and America have such deep traditional roots together. If you've ever traveled in Mexico, it's very reminiscent of America. And if you've ever traveled in America, it can be very reminiscent of Mexico. There's a reason for that. These people are cut from the same cloth. It doesn't matter that they were born south of a border that somebody scribbled on a map someday. They like the same things we do. They like the same food. They like the same music. They like the same movies. They value the same things. They like their families and their children and a good job. And, you know, they have the same dreams that we do, owning a little house, retirement. You know what I mean? You have to really start digging. They have the same religion that we do, you know. You really have to start digging for a reason for there to be a line down there, other than exploiting people. It does matter. Well, I'm convinced. I'm convinced, bro. You got me there. It's basically, nuh-uh. Your comeback to that was basically, nah, nuh-uh. It does matter. I was like, okay, well, whatever. What would be the world dish for this one world government? Why would there need to be? There'll still be regional cooking and regional, like, the earth has got different climates and it's going to produce different fruits and vegetables and animals on it. And so there's still going to be regional diet, regional cooking, regional food.
Yeah, like, combining countries doesn't mean combining cultures necessarily.
No. That's what a lot of people are afraid of. They're afraid of homogenizing culture. They're afraid that one culture is going to come and wipe out another one. When the truth of the matter is, cultures exist largely due to geography. It's geography that drives culture. And so people that live in India, that has been Hindu since well before the dawn of Christendom, right, will remain Hindu. That tradition will remain. It's not going to be destroyed because the borders of India are erased. People that think that culture dies when regions merge have never been to America, and it shows. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, America, I know the term isn't considered to be PC anymore, but they used to call America, when I was a kid, a melting pot. And I still like that, right? It is not, but I think the reason that they didn't like the term was because in a melting pot, everything homogenizes, right? But I still think it stands. To a certain extent, culture homogenizes. Tradition doesn't, right? So people come here, continue to be Muslim, continue to be Hindu, continue to be Buddhist, but culturally they Americanize. They come generationally to care about the same thing that Christians and atheists and Native Americans do. Human beings are not different because they were born in a different zip code.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you
And
find
cultures change even across borders. Like there's people in a bunch of countries wearing clothes that kind of became common in America.
no, absolutely. I mean, you can't. It's very hard in the developed world to not see a McDonald's, not see Americanized things, right? Culture. That's the thing is people think about culture as this, like treasure to be covetously guarded. But the way that culture works is that it yearns to express and share itself, and it yearns to mix itself with other cultures. And culture loves to clash with culture.
Like one of the popular dishes in the UK is butter chicken, which is like this fusion between Indian and
And
British cuisine.
mm-hmm.
I love curry over there.
Oh yeah, well, because of imperial
Yeah.
British rule in India, there was so much trade and so much immigration and cultural exchange between those two countries that they're now intrinsically linked in a cultural way.
Mm-hmm.
This is the truth about culture. Culture is not an enclave with a bunch of spears pointing out at the rest of the world going, get back away from us. Culture says, come on in and have some curry. Come on in and get you a hamburger, y'all. Come on in and have you some sope with some nopales. You know what I mean? So I think that there's like a little bit of racism, a little bit of xenophobia wrapped up in people's ideas. When you talk globalism, they just, I guess in their mind, they picture just like somebody raiding the world at the tip of a sword and destroying all culture and making you be a Muslim or some shit. That's just not how culture works, man. Culture yearns to be shared, yearns to be adopted, yearns to be talked about and appreciated. You know, yeah. LP Stream's going through a bad time. I'm a drummer, had a leg injury. Doc said give up drums, but it's my passion. Should I wait till my... you're trying to get me to say that, dude. You're trying to get...
It's a little.
Yeah, he's trying to get me to say, dude, that's so mean, man. Because I thought you were being honest. I thought you were actually a dude that was struggling and loved to drum. I caught myself. I've been on the internet too long, bro. You're not going to get me. You put the word knee next to the word grows, you're not gonna get me that way, bro. You're not gonna get me. It's just not. They're getting smarter. I didn't read the end. Right? They're starting to get sneakier. They're sneaking it in. They're sneaking the premise by. There's a new bioweapon. We'll have to have a meeting of the wrenches. There's a new bioweapon out there. Got it way too late. Yeah. Well, you don't have to do this for a living, man. I do, okay? I've seen it all, I've been through it all, and I've accidentally said it all, okay? You learn. You live, you learn. I just think it's hilarious. Like, I've been thinking about China a lot recently. It wasn't a huge American cultural event, but it really caught my eye when that skivity streamer, I Show Speed, went to China.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there was propaganda involved in that. China was all too happy to have Speed come and experience their culture and probably facilitated him getting to see some things and stuff. But ultimately, what those streams showed me was something that you can't orchestrate, right? There was a human connection between him and the Chinese people. The Chinese people were super happy to have him there, right? And to share their culture with him. And they were super happy to see him marvel at their culture, right? And right now, our countries, I say China and America, I feel propaganda-wise, want us to believe that there's this huge gulf of difference between us. But what we share is common humanity, common dreams, maybe not common ideology, but those things are reconcilable. Ideology is always reconcilable. The proof of that is in the pudding. Ideology is constantly changing, shifting, adapting, morphing. People are changing ideologies constantly. It is a shifting landscape. It is not a stoic, rocky landscape, right? And so to fear another culture because of an ideological difference between our governments seems a little overblown. I don't fear people. I don't fear human beings. I don't fear culture. I fear the government, right? I fear overreach. I fear imbalance of power.
When the government's telling you to hate someone,
Yep.
it's a lot of looking the other way while they're doing something else.
I've been through that before. America was desperate for me to hate Muslims in the early 2000s. Oh my God, they threw the kitchen sink at language, coming up with ways to make Muslims seem like bloodthirsty maniacs, every last one of them. Right? I've been through the propagandization that happens, and I don't buy it. I don't buy it anymore. When America tells me to fear a group of people, it makes me interested in that group of people. For them, it was as if the Mongol horde was coming. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, there was a real concerted campaign, and it worked with a lot of people to make Iraqis seem like the number one enemy of America. And the truth of the matter was, most Iraqis were living with 2 or 3 hours a day of electricity at the time we bombed. These people had no ability to hurt us and no desire, right? It was, there was no point in America going into Iraq. There was no point in deposing Saddam Hussein. And we threw good money after bad in that country for over a decade. Even worse, 2 decades plus in Afghanistan. You know what I mean? And the whole time, the government's telling me that everybody over there wants to kill us, right? And our cultures are just incompatible, and they hate freedom, and they say this and they say that, right? And the truth of the matter is that those borders are what's killing people. The idea that because you were born on this chunk of land on the same fucking globe, on the same planet, you're the enemy. That's what's killing us, is xenophobia. What's killing us is this kind of pride-filled declaration that this land is my land. This land is our land, friend. We're all human beings. We're all crawling around on the same planet, okay? So, that's the way that humans really are. And capitalism has imposed a system of otherization and xenophobia and fear and cultural suppression. And I think it causes a lot of the problems we face. There was an incentive. It just was too evil for you to stomach. Live and learn and teach and make the world what you want it to be. Sure. Yeah, I've yet to hear a good argument. And I've yet to see this hideous clash of culture, this irreconcilable cultural clash. What I do see is individual people who are happy and proud to share their culture with you. That's what I see. La represión fue impuesta. La única cultura que queda es la americana. Las demás fueron olvidadas y destruidas. See? Even though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Oh, that's a badass Bible verse, I have to admit. As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. My first formative memories with political was Obama getting elected 2008. I was in kindergarten. My teacher did a mock election in the classroom. Wow. Wowie, wowie, wow. Do you see how, like, when I'm talking about some shit like this, it's like the dum-dums get offended by it? Because I think there's a lot of people out there who can't wrap their head around what I'm talking about, and it makes them angry, and the nonsense quotient goes way up, right? I can't participate in this talk. Talk about poopy butt folks. Talk about Minecraft. Talk about Bigfoot. Talk about SpongeBob SquarePants. Just like the dum-dums get real fucking mad when you're talking about something that it makes their brain hurt because they didn't pay attention in English class. Look at them. Look at how the fingers are having to fly. Hey, Nick. You know what I mean? Talk about Harry Potter. Talk about Minecraft movie. Are you the Minecraft man? It's just like, oh my God, can you imagine being that fucking dumb and having no escape? To me, that would be prison. Moronism is true prison. Now, you can chain my body, but you cannot chain my thinking, for it is free, like a bird in the sky. Oh, dude, yeah. Dude, that used to be a thing with me. Is like, that's indirectly kind of how I decide if somebody's worth chilling with or not. Like, if I'm meeting a new person and I give them like a thought, something a little deeper than the surface level, and they're like, man, that's some deep shit right there, man. You think about a lot of stuff. I'm just like, all right. Shoot. Get out of my life. Cognitive dissonance is a really, dude, you see it so much too. Have you ever seen somebody's face when their brain reboots when they're confronted with a paradox that they introduced? It's one of my favorite things. It's not very often you get to see it in person, but I've lived a long time and I've gotten to pose those sorts of questions to people Those kind of like, you have a self-refuting ideology and here is a question you can't answer, and their brain, like, they get this vacant look. They're like, because ultimately it's their brain warning them, warning, irreconcilable differences in belief and reality, warning, irreconcilable differences in belief and reality. But they're so dumb they can't hear that, and so it just slows them down to an absolute stop. And for, 2-3 seconds their brain reboots, and the less you know, the more that happens to you. The less you know, the less books you read, the less time you spend talking to other people, the more that happens to you. Reboot in process. I hate people who are incapable of thought. Yeah. Incapable of conversation beyond surface level shit. It drives me nuts. Almost nothing pisses me off more than telling someone a very slightly complex idea and they look at me like, huh? Or asking somebody to step one conceptual step beyond what they're talking about and talk about a broader picture that involves all the same ideas. And they're like, huh? And it's like, okay, all right, I know I'm wasting my time here. The excuse will always be autism. I've found personally, in my experience, that most autistic people can talk circles around me. Right? That isn't the problem. I don't find that to be a particularly autistic position. Autistic people tend to be, at least in my experience, very capable at meandering through a conversation. That doesn't, you know. Sometimes I have a moment where I don't quite see the connection, but I try pretty hard to fix that if I detect it. Sure, yeah. No, I find, once again, my experience talking to autistic people, dude, our little black squirrel is running all over the place today. He's flourishing back here. It's so weird. I have never in my life seen a black squirrel, but he is. High from hell. Cool, man. They've got Wi-Fi in hell. Do you get Starlink or what down there? How's it work, man? Sometimes I feel like there'll be a hurdle between the conversation depending on the person, like somebody who would approach it arrogantly or rude and insultingly. Yeah, I mean, that'll happen too. Did you guess I was autistic based on our voice stream interactions? I mean, I guess everybody's autistic, so. But as far as like, would I make an armchair diagnosis of you as autistic? Probably not. You know. I live in California. My ex is a school teacher. The districts forbade the teachers from entering grades that would cause them to fail. Yeah. I can't remember what the name of that was, but it was something. I can't remember what it was. But that happened when I was teaching, or not teaching, when I was working with teachers at the school district. Yeah. They started a grading scale that didn't include D's or F's. They started grading on a pass-fail on a lot of things, and blah, 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 blah. conversations often have to start very surface level. I don't think so, man. But I'm not a proponent of the getting to know you talk. I don't like it. It's bullshitty to me. It's bullshitty to me. I don't like small talk. I don't mind it, but it better be over pretty quick, because I get real tired of how's everybody been? How are you doing? How's your podcast? How's Amelia doing? How's Dinor? It's like, okay. And my friend's fiance is a former public school teacher in North Carolina. She said that it effectively requires an act of Congress to hold a child back a grade. Yeah, that's called social promotion. And it's arguably the right thing to do in a failing education system. It's hard to argue that a kid is better off being 8 years old and still in the first grade than he is just not knowing what he's doing, but at least being with other kids his age. Because there's a whole social aspect to school that people give no credit for, right? Kids are socialized in school. There's huge amounts of lessons. Just being near other kids your age teaches children, right? Without the teacher having to do anything, really. Seeing that level of interaction, teacher to student to principal, right? That's how kids learn the structure of society in a lot of cases, So it's probably the right thing to do in a failing education system is to socially promote, but obviously the most right thing to do would be to correct the education system, and so these children have a way to continue to progress and get the individualized help they need, right?
Parents too. Parents need to stop giving their kid the iPad and the phone and sit and read with them a lot more.
Yeah.
That would help literacy a lot.
Wouldn't it be better to just fix the system? I mean, yeah, in a perfect world.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, fix the system. That fixes that problem. But yeah, in an imperfect world where nobody's trying to fix the system, really, then, I feel like social promotion was probably the correct decision if anything, from a psychological and a child development standpoint. If you're in a shitty school where the kid's apt to not learn much, at least the kid has time with, other kids their age and might learn some social graces and some social structure from them. Well, I mean, you can get mad about the duct tape and the fact that we never fix anything. In fact, we slap a fucking flex tape on it and call it done. You know what I mean? But ultimately, what we're going through right now, if I set aside my jingoistic pro-American side, which there is a little bit of that, but I understand the futility of it. This needs to happen. America has done some wonderful, beautiful things in its 200 years plus of history. But it's also done some really horribly destructive and tragic things. Empires rise, empires overextend, empires fall. That is the tale of history. And we are in the having overextended, we are in the fall. And as one empire falls, so does another rise. That's also the tale of history. And I feel like the Eastern world is ascendant, and the Western world has run up against the same barrier that has caused every other empire, in my estimation, to fail. Too much lust for power and too much lust for influence and money. Too much conglomeration of those things in the hands of too few people, right? And America, I hate to say it, but Jeremiah Wright was right. Remember Reverend Jeremiah Wright? He was Obama's reverend. And there was a clip of him saying, America ain't the land of the free. God damn America. Not God bless America. God damn America. Right? I'm pretty sure that's where we're at. America's chickens are coming home to roost. That was another Jeremiah Wright banger. Because it's true. We got too complacent. We let too many billionaires and oligarchs purchase our government. We didn't rise up. We didn't get the guillotines out, so to speak, legally or otherwise. We just kind of allowed it to happen. We allowed them to loot the treasury. We allowed them to loot our retirement. We allowed them to loot our savings account. And now they've looted our ability to even own a house. And all of that we've allowed without barely a little peep. Look at what people hate. Look at what people care about. Instead of that, instead of the looting of the treasury, the conglomeration of all of your money in the hands of 5 or 6 billionaires, right? Instead of caring about that, you care about one trans woman that swam in a meat. You think trans people are taking it over. You're worried about Mexicans trying to get over here. You see what I mean? It's the ultimate fucking gag of all time. It really is. It's the best rope-a-dope of modern history. Look over there. And they're literally like cartoon bandits in striped shirts and masks with a big sack with dollar signs on it thrown over their shoulder going, look over there, officer. And we go like, oh, trans people swimming. It's retarded. And so that's why our empire is falling, right? We stopped investing in ourselves and we started investing in a few families and letting everything else rot. And nobody stopped it. None of the mechanisms in place to stop it stopped it. The People's House didn't stop it. The Senate didn't stop it. The judiciary allowed it to happen and facilitated it. Because all of those people benefit from the consolidation of power and influence and money. But the proletariat didn't stop it. The working man didn't step up. The working man allowed their ear to be poisoned and told that unions are evil. The working man allowed their wages to remain stagnant for 70 years versus inflation. The working man sat on his laurels, got too complacent, got too comfy, and got too okay with the hand-in-glove, greased palm nature of paying forward. And now our empire is tumbling into the ground under the weight of its fraud, just open, rank fraud and abuse. Our institutions are all rotting, being destroyed from within, right? This is what happened to the Roman Empire. This is what happened to the Greek Empire, right? A lot of people think some other thing came and conquered those things. That happened after the empire had completely imploded and could no longer protect itself. The exact same shit happened in Rome. Complacency and a consolidation of power with a few rich, wealthy families, right? Egypt, same exact thing. Too much of the national treasure being put into these quite frankly beautiful but otherwise useless, egotistical projects of the pharaohs. And some lean, hungry barbarians saw how weak they were and came and took it. And that's what we're dealing with now. And it's not going to be at the point of a sword like it was in history. It's going to be the economic gun that's pointed at our head. We're poised to become a client state, not a provider. I don't know. At this point, I'm at a point in my life where fixing is not up to me. I'm a Taoist. You need to understand the Tao to understand my perspective on governance and the passing of human events. I don't think it should be fixed. I don't think it should be left alone. I don't think should comes into it. I have no control. And I have to be honest with you, before I even discovered Buddhism, Daoism, started looking into those things, I had this position, right? It's one of the things that fundamentally I think I came to realize after years and years and years and years and years and insane years of trying to make a difference, right? Man, these birds are just scooping up. There's all kinds of little flying insects out today, little gnats and moths and whatever. And there are these little sparrows that just keep doing these dive bombs and snagging these insects right out of the air. And it's just so fucking cool to be sitting right here. They don't give a shit about me. They're right outside my porch dive bombing these insects, and it's just awesome. That, right, I look at that event on the same level of importance as I look at the passing of human events. That's the Tao. Derek Jensen once said the great thing about activism work is that it's okay. Yeah, I've heard that. It's okay to take a break, but it'll be waiting for you when you get back from the break. Yeah. Yeah. No, I understand that. And I'm not saying that I'm not trying to poo-poo activism. I'm talking about my perspective on things, right? There is a certain truth to the passing of not just human events, but just events in general, being something to experience rather than influence, right? The Tao is all about the philosophy of going with the flow, right? If there's any kind of mother idea in the Tao, right, some central unifying idea, it is that. And to me, the world seems to make so much more sense when I look at it from a defactionalized perspective. When I look at individuals as individuals and I stop listening to the collectivist mindset, right? I stop listening to the desire for people to categorize themselves and to throw up banners, to throw up flags of a country or voting proclivity, right? I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, boom, boom, boom. When I see the fruits of all of that labeling and all of that categorization and all of that homogenization in these micro communities, I see nothing but negativity come from it, right? And so I eschew that in my life. I refuse to categorize. I refuse to live by categorization. I refuse to look at the world in that way, right? And, if time truly is a flat circle, as Nietzsche proposed, then what is to worry about even a tragic event like a nuclear war or an asteroid, right? These things have passed here before, and look at all of the 10,000 creatures, as the Tao calls all the animals and plants of the world, right? The 10,000 things, sometimes it calls it, right? Us included, that make up life and the natural world. Of course, there are way more than 10,000. It's a metaphor. I would never try and stymie anyone's effort, right? People are moved in different ways, and I'd never want to put my foot out in front of somebody and trip them on their journey, because many people tried to do that to me. And I don't want to be one of those feet that are out in front of somebody else's journey, right? That's also the Tao, right? I accept. It's like I could be all bent out of shape that me and my dad are at odds politically and socially. We had a pretty crazy conversation about trans sports right after Onion Nuggets, too, which I usually am pretty fucking worn out from talking. And I think it got more contentious between me and him, on my end at least, as a result of that. I had been working all day. I was pretty talked out and politicked out. And then he and I came out here on the back porch, and I was smoking a joint and enjoying this. And he struck up the trans women in sports conversation. And it started in a very wholesome way. He said, you know, PJ, he said, do you think that, you know, the trans sports thing, do you think you support that because you feel like it's an extension of who and what you are or whatever? And I was like, well, I'm not a trans person, Daddy, but, you know, that is part of the LGBT spectrum. And yeah, I see fellow travelers, and I see a lot in common with trans people in terms of how society perceives trans people, gay people. You know, and it started that way. And it kind of devolved into the very Fox News-esque, a lot of claims made about you know, I kept trying to drill home with them. I was like, Daddy, show me a trans athlete that has dominated a female sport, and I'll change my mind. Well, Leah Thomas, the swimmer. And then we find out that Leah Thomas didn't win anything. She came in third or something, yes. Fifth overall, right? Which means that 4 other women were way better than she was and beat her ass. So I don't get the point. Okay, well, what about this? You come up with these little examples. None of them were a trans woman just absolutely dunking on every woman. There are a couple of instances now of trans people competing in the Olympics. Not a single one has ever medaled, I don't think. So I don't get it, right? And I told my dad this. I said, look, man, I understand what you're talking about. I get it. Biologically speaking, a man is going to be bigger and stronger than a woman on average. Now, of course, there are outliers in that. There's some really big, strong biological women and some really mincy, weak biological men. But on the average, a biological man is going to be stronger and more capable than a woman is, right? I acquiesce to that.
If you look at a trans person that did the puberty blockers and stuff, there's probably no difference, hardly any difference at all.
Well, that's lessened,
yeah,
right? Because the hormones that drove the things that make a man ultimately in an adulthood stronger than a woman, more muscle development, denser bones, all of that stuff. If you take puberty blockers, a lot of that or most of that didn't happen to you, right? There's that. Even if you started HRT later in your life, after going through a full puberty, there is a reduction in muscle mass that happens. All of these individual influencing factors kind of went in one ear and out the other with him, because he's very locked into these narratives, right? Somebody in my chat found the solution a couple of weeks back. Okay, what's the solution? Because I think the solution is apparent. Trans people play sports with the gender that they conform to. Period. End of discussion. There's the answer. They don't dominate the sports. There's not enough trans people on the planet Earth to... Because I told my dad, I was like, Dad... Because he was kind of doing the South Park thing. Like, one of the things he brought up was, you know, well, what if I put on a skirt and go join a soccer team and just kick everybody's ass, you know? And I was like, Dad, there's not enough trans women on the planet to make a soccer team that play at that level. Right? I tried to drill it home to him that we're talking about 0.01% of 0.1% of people. That's trans people. That's trans athletes at the top level. Right? So people that are Olympians or playing on a national sports team or playing on a private sports team, right? 0.01% of 0.1% of people. It's not a problem. But we're told it's a problem. We're told to focus on that, right? co-ed leagues make no sense. Co-ed, I mean, certain sports and activities, sure, and there already
Golf,
exist.
I'd say you could probably do co-ed.
Maybe. I mean, the truth still stands that, like, the longest drives are made by men. And that is a lot of your success in golf. How fast can you get the ball down to the green and put it in, right? So, I get it. I understand why there are divided up sports leagues by gender. I get it. I just don't get why it's a problem for trans people to participate in those. And I've yet to be pointed at a problem that actually matters to me. I'm pro co-ed sports if women don't make it, and I don't care. I just want to see the best of the best compete. Well, that's why I think it's nice to have both, right? Because otherwise, in a lot of physical strength and endurance competitions, like most sports are, women wouldn't even be represented at the top level. Or there would be very, very few women that ever make that cut, right? I don't think that's fair. I don't think that fosters a fair environment. And so we keep women's sports, we keep men's sports, and we let trans people play in the sport that they identify as. And that's it. And until you can point out this huge, insane dominance streak by a trans athlete in a sport at the top levels, I don't want to hear about it because it doesn't matter. That's basically where I was at, but I was pretty salty that night, so it got a little heated. It just it gets frustrating sometimes because you spit facts and they don't want to hear it because it doesn't conform to what they think. Because, and I'm not just talking about my dad here, I'm just talking about people that are caught in the vortex. People that are in this news cycle and they can't get out of it. And they're just given propaganda and slogans to, this, that, and the other. Tell you what, though, if Tyson was trans, I don't entertain the ifs. Tyson isn't trans. Okay? We're talking about, like I said, something like 0.01% of people in the world are trans. It's an infinitesimally small number of people, right? So what if Hulk Hogan was trans? He isn't. He isn't. So let's talk about that. Don't you want to go down the road of a random dude's crazy hypothetical? Yeah, that'll definitely push the conversation forward in a positive direction that's real meaningful in the real world. I just had to ask my dad some questions. I didn't want everybody. And I'm very careful to make sure that people aren't on the show unless they want to be. And I told him we were talking about trans sports, and he was like, I ain't touching that third rail again, buddy. He walked away. I chased him away. I'm just so done with the trans debate. I am too. I probably should. You know, we weren't really talking about it. I guess we were. I gave him the honest topic, and he was like, I think a lot of people are done with it. I think you're not alone there. I think a lot of people are full-blown done with it. I think a lot of trans people are done with it, to be honest. I mean, it's something that interests me, but it's also something that's being used as a wedge. They already allow trans bathrooms, bro. You have pooped next to a trans man. Almost guaranteed. If you travel around and you use a toilet, some point in your life you pooped next to a trans man and you had no clue. If you're a woman, you've pooped next to a trans woman. You have put in a tampon next to a trans woman in the next stall, and you never even knew it. Dun 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 dun. And your life went on and nothing ill came of it, and you never noticed it, and it never bothered you, and you know what I mean? It's just like, get over it, bro. You can show me some crime statistic where dudes pretend to be trans so that they can hang out and leer at women in the bathroom. Well, maybe we can have a talk. But until then, shut the fuck up, man. Quit making up fairy tales. I'm not interested in fairy tales. I'm interested in fact. I want the facts. I want to know the statistics. I want to know how many trans athletes are dominating women's sports. The answer, by the way, is 0.0. Until that number is 10, I don't even really think it's worth talking about. You show me 10 trans athletes that are just living the life and sitting at the top of every female sport. Okay, maybe there's something weird going on here. Till then, though, I got better things to worry about. I got actual things to worry about that aren't based in a fantasy that people have, that aren't based in an insane hypothetical that will never come to pass, aren't based on an episode of South Park, which is a comedy show, right? Like, come on, guys, can we get it? Live and let die. I'm just glad there will be kids out there who don't feel as bad about feeling so out of place. But like I said, I want that feeling to be for them, not the ones who decide they want to be someone else. Sure. Whatever. I mean, like, I don't know, man. Cock-a-doodle-doo.